Part 5. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 41. When Xiaopinggan and Anqing arrived at Lingxi Building, the entrance to the parking lot of Lingxi Building had already been cordoned off by the police. Only when entering the underground from the entrance did you see the blockade of the Committee of Order inside. The police are responsible for maintaining order outside and preventing the public from excessive panic and random speculation, while the people from the Order Committee are inside to deal with difficult situations that are difficult for the police to handle. In addition to the Special Operations Division, other departments of the Order Committee also arrived. Underground in the Lingxi Building, on the second floor, in addition to the underground parking lot, there is also an underground cold storage of more than 2,000 square meters. When he came to the entrance of the underground cold storage, Xiaopinggan saw a pile of humanoid traces that had been turned to ashes and completely burned at the entrance of the underground cold storage. Xiaopinggan could tell that it was the summoner's fireball just by looking at the pile of ashes. The result of the spell. The corpse had turned to ashes and was unrecognizable. However, among the charred ashes on the ground, you could still see small metal objects such as belt buckles and metal badges that had been melted and deformed by the fire. After passing through the door of the cold storage and entering the cold storage, the temperature suddenly dropped a lot. Inside the cold storage are all the frozen pork hung on iron hooks. There is a strong smell of blood in the cold storage. The dark red cold storage light is on. Pieces of pale pork are hanging there, densely packed, like a forest of corpses. It looks scary. Xiaopinggan walked in and heard Li Yunzhou's voice coming from inside. The security guard guarding the cold storage did not show any abnormality before, but when Lao Cao and I took out the environmental inspection certificate and Lao Cao went into the cold storage to check, while I was watching from the outside, the security guard also lied to me and wanted to trick me into the cold storage. But I'm so smart, how could I be fooled? I realized at that time that something was wrong with the security guard. When he saw that I didn't enter the cold storage, the security guard suddenly started to attack me. I fired 2 shots at him and found that the bullets had no effect on him. I realized at that time that the security guard might be a living corpse, and then I used a fireball to transform him. At that time, Lao Cao also discovered something abnormal inside the cold storage, and saw the piles of this devil's eye is. Entering the cold storage, Xiaopinggan saw Mo Yanxiao, Li Yunzhou, and Cao Xinghua. The 3 of them were talking about something with solemn expressions. In the cold storage around the 3 of them, Xiaopinggan saw the familiar sacrificial pattern. Another devil's eye. The devil's eye, which consists of the severed limbs, arms, torsos, and heads of more than a dozen people, is on the floor of the cold storage and is larger than the one in the shopping mall. The limbs of the corpse that made up the devil's eye were all stiff and covered with a layer of snow-white frost. Judging from the number of heads that made up the eyeball, there were 17 people dead here. The 17 people were both male and female, and they were all under 40 to 15 years old. Each corpse had a round hole the size of a fist in the middle of its forehead. From the hole, the brain tissue in the skull cavity could be seen. Already gone. The pale heads covered with a layer of frost were piled up in a pile, with a big hole in each head, and the skull cavity was empty. This scene can scare the faint of heart into tears. From the analysis of the remains of the victims, these people's brains had been sucked out before they died. It seems that the members of the Devil's Eye who took action have actively integrated with the brain-eating insects. Except for the security guard at the door, everyone in the building, no other hosts controlled by brain-eating insects have been found yet. Cao Xinghua said to Mo Yanxiao. Brain-eating worms. Xiaopinggan was shocked. Brain-eating insects are the most dangerous species of space-invading organisms. The organisms first parasitize in the human body, then hatch, grow up, become the human brain, and finally complete the control and fusion of the human body. And change the genes of the human body, and finally can completely turn a person into a brain-sucking monster. What's even more dangerous is that brain-eating worms can control other people's behavior by treating them as hosts, turning the controlled host into a walking zombie without looking abnormal. Compared with magic rats, the danger level of brain-eating insects is higher, and the ability of brain-eating insects does not produce any supernatural energy fluctuations, so it will not be sensed by the lamplighter. People who actively fuse with the brain-eating insects will have all the abilities of the brain-eating insects, making them even more terrifying. The surveillance video of the building is still operating normally. The Technical Analysis Department has already retrieved the surveillance video of the building and the duty records of the security guards of this cold storage. The corpses here must have been transported in batches from outside. There are several faces among them. I still remember that it was those people who reported missing in Xianghe City during this period. While Mo Yanshao was talking, Xiaopinggan and Anqing had already arrived beside the three of them. Anqing glanced at the Devil's Eye underground. It seems that there are other members of the Devil's Eye lurking in Xianghe City. The one last time had a phantom monster parasitizing on his body. Xiaopinggan's Requiem flag can just be used to restrain the living corpses controlled by the brain-eating insects. Mo Yanshao's eyes fell on Xiaopinggan. If we find another living corpse controlled by the brain-eating insects, maybe you need to take action. Xiaopinggan nodded. 2 minutes later, Tu Polu and Fang Lingshan also came, and they found nothing unusual at the Qinglong Reservoir. The Technical Analysis Department of the Order Committee soon sent the results. In the past month, this cold storage has been guarded by the security guard. The only person who has close contact with the security guard is the owner of this cold storage. The owner of this cold storage is named Gao Qingshan. The cold storage owner drives a truck into the cold storage every day or two to unload and load goods behind closed doors. Except for the cold storage owner, no one else has entered the underground cold storage in the past month. After comprehensive analysis, it turns out that the owner of this cold storage is either the host body of the man-eating insect or a member of the Devil's Eye fused with the brain-eating insect. If the owner of the cold storage is the host body of the man-eating insect, then there will be another member of the Devil's Eye who is fused with the brain-eating insect, but the host body and the original body of the man-eating insect are connected, and the two cannot exceed a certain range. Usually between a few kilometers and dozens of kilometers. If it exceeds a certain range, the host will die. Judging from the distance, the members of the Devil's Eye who merged with the brain-eating insects were still in Xianghe City before, but now that the security incident has occurred, the member of the Devil's Eye must be able to sense that it is still unknown whether they have absconded. There is also a limit to the number of hosts that the brain-eating insect can control. This depends on the level of the man-eating insect. The minimum is 1, the maximum is dozens, and the maximum is no more than 81. If the owner of the cold storage is a member of the Devil's Eye, and he is the body fused with the brain-eating worms, then the result is not optimistic, because the person who fused with the brain-eating worms has the ability to change body shape and appearance like an octopus and a chameleon. It is possible that there are brain-eating insect hosts and demon eyes that have not been discovered in other corners and places in the city. The Order Committee began to quickly investigate the cold storage owner's actions in recent months, and to check whether there were any abnormalities in his customers, family, and friends. A wanted order was issued immediately. According to the wanted order received by the police, the cold storage owner Gao Qingshan is the main suspect in the first-degree murder case with a gun. He may have accomplices. If he resists arrest and escapes after seeing him, he can be killed immediately. Clear photos of cold storage owner Gao Qingshan were also sent to Xiaopinggan's work mobile phone. He was a middle-aged man in his 40s with gloomy eyes, thick bags under his eyes, and an ordinary, slightly balding face. Gao Qingshan is childless and a loner. He is currently missing. He came to Xianghe City a few years ago to open a freezing factory and has always kept a low profile. After a quick search, the possibility that Gao Qingshan is a member of Devil's Eye has greatly increased. Mo Yanshao and Xiaopingan both used their remote viewing abilities to participate in the search throughout the city, but neither of them found any trace of Gao Qingshan, which meant that either Gao Qingshan had left Xianghe City, or it is possible that they have changed their appearance but are still staying in Xianghe City. The Order Committee of Xianghe City is trying its best to hunt down this member of the Evil Eye hidden in Xianghe City. If Gao Qingshan still stays in Xianghe City, with his familiarity with Xianghe City and the ability of his fused man-eating insect, even if the Order Committee wants to find such a person who can change his identity and face at any time in such a huge city, it will definitely not work. Not easy. This is also the biggest difficulty for the Order Committee when facing space-invading creatures and demon eyes. In most cases, discovery is equal to destruction and killing, but the most difficult thing is the process of discovery. The members of the Devil's Eye who merged with the brain-eating insects, and the living corpses controlled by the brain-eating insects, disappeared like a drop of water into the vast ocean of the city, making it difficult to find. In a short period of time, the Order Committee was unable to confirm did the member of Devil's Eye leave Xianghe City or is he still hiding somewhere in the city. And when it was time to get off work in the evening, the streets of Xianghe City were still bustling with people. The vast majority of ordinary people knew nothing about the dangers of their own transformation and the dangerous monsters hidden in them. They just did what they were supposed to do every day. Well, after a busy afternoon, Xiaopingan, who had finished his first case analysis meeting with the Special Operations Division at the Order Committee's station in the evening, walked out of the Order Committee's door alone, went to the station outside, and waited for the bus's arrival. Just like a policeman chasing a murderer, even if the murderer has not been caught, he still needs to take a rest when it is time to get off work. Tomorrow is the weekend, and Xiaopingan hasn't been home for almost 2 weeks. He promised Xiaoning tonight that he would go home and cook delicious food for her. This is life. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 42. There were not many people on the bus along this route. There were only a few people standing in the bus. Some of the people sitting on the bus were drowsy and some were playing with their mobile phones. In the bus compartment, only the sound from the TV was echoing in the compartment, broadcasting news and advertisements. Today, a murder occurred in the underground cold storage of Lingxi building. When our reporter arrived, the police had already set up a cordon outside the building. According to police information, a security guard in the underground cold storage of the building had been killed. After collecting surveillance footage, the police found that Gao Qingshan, the owner of the underground cold storage, committed a murder with a gun. The reason for the murder may be a labor dispute. The police have issued a wanted order. If any enthusiastic citizens find useful clues, they can call the police reporting hotline. The police will provide 100,000 yuan. The bounty. Xiaopingan, who was sitting in the back seat of the vehicle, raised his head and glanced at the TV in front of him. A picture of a middle-aged man in his 40s with gloomy eyes, thick bags under his eyes, and an ordinary, slightly balding face appeared on the TV. Under the photo, there was a reward of 100,000 yuan. Of words. Neither the National Order Committee nor the Evil Eye composed of corpses in the underground cold storage appeared on the news. People watching the news thought this was a bad criminal case. Xiaopingan noticed that when the news was broadcast, most of the people in the car just looked up at the beautiful female reporter on the TV screen in the car, and no one paid attention. Perhaps for ordinary people, this is the best. If the bloody and horrific scene in the underground cold storage appeared on TV, most people would probably have trouble sleeping at night, and no one would dare to go out at night. When we arrived at the station, not far away was the residential complex where Xiaopingan lived. Xiaopingan got off the car. There was a fresh food supermarket just outside. After getting off the car, Xiaopingan went directly into the supermarket and bought some vegetables. 10 minutes later, Xiaopingan walked out of the fresh food supermarket. The shopping bag he was holding already contained the things he had bought, including tendons, sea cucumbers, mushrooms, abalone, shark fins, chicken, shrimp and some fresh food. Vegetable. These ingredients cost more than 300 yuan. Carrying the things, Xiaopinggan walked directly towards the community where he rented and entered the unit door. The security guard who was watching TV in the mail room downstairs glanced at Xiaopinggan and continued watching TV. Everything in the corridor was as before. Xiaopinggan came to the door on the top floor and was about to take out the key when he discovered that the door lock outside the security door of the room he rented had been changed. The previous door lock was gone. The new door lock was shiny, but Xiaopinggan's key could no longer be inserted. Damn it! Uncle Hong doesn't know how to change the locks. If he wants to change the locks, he will tell himself that this is something the new landlord does. Because there is a small card taped with transparent tape on the security door. There is a line written on the small card, the new landlord's phone number is 138XXXXXXXXX. Tenants of this house, please contact the new landlord to get the key. Xiaopinggan hung the shopping bag he was carrying on the railing of the stairs, took out his mobile phone and called the new landlord. The call was dialed and the line was not busy, but after waiting for more than 10 seconds, a middle-aged woman's voice appeared on the phone. Hello, who are you? Hello, I am the tenant who rented Uncle Hong's house before. You changed the door lock and I can't get in now. Can you come over and unlock it? Oh, you are that Xiaopinggan. The woman on the phone called out Xiaopinggan's name, her tone was a bit vulgar and rude. Yes, I am Xiaopinggan. The house you are renting now belongs to my family, and I will be the landlord from now on. The middle-aged woman's voice was triumphant, like a machine gun, without giving Pinggan a chance to speak. I changed the door lock. Starting from this month, the rent will increase to 3,800 yuan per month. Your previous contract does not count and will need to be re-signed. If you don't want to live there, you can move out. Xiaopinggan frowned slightly. The same house in this community costs about 3,200 to 3,300 per month. That was because Uncle Hong was unwilling to increase the price, so Xiaopinggan took the initiative to increase the rent several times. Looking at the new door lock and listening to the woman's voice on the phone, Xiaopinggan suppressed the discomfort in his heart, but still said calmly, I haven't read the new contract yet. Let's take a look first. Now I want to when I go home, can you send me the keys first? Okay, just wait, the woman hung up the phone rudely. Xiaopinggan could only wait at the door of the house. Xiaopinggan could open the door lock without a key, but it would be troublesome to open it at this time, so he waited at the door for the time being. 20 minutes later, footsteps were heard downstairs, but Xiaoning came back first. Xiaoning wears a yellow cartoon hat, jeans, a white shirt and a knitted jacket, and carries a backpack. She is youthful, beautiful, and full of energy. Brother, why did you lose your key at the door of your house? Xiaoning asked. Uncle Hong is going back to the countryside to retire. He sold the house and the new landlord changed the locks, Xiaopinggan said helplessly. Ah, the new landlord didn't notify us when he changed the locks. He had to wait until we were here to change the locks. Why did they get in when we were not at home? What if our things are lost? I saw the sign posted on the security door. Xiaoning was very angry at the small note. Just from this incident, Xiaoning felt the new landlord's disrespect for her. To put it lightly, it was just that the new landlord changed the locks, but to put it seriously, it was breaking into a private house. Xiaopinggan and Uncle Hong's lease contract is still there, and it's still within the lease period stipulated in the contract. The two brothers and sisters could only continue to wait at the door of the house. Xiaoning asked about Xiaopinggan's new job. The job benefits are okay, but I may not be able to go home every weekend in the future. Xiaopinggan did not tell Xiaoning that he was already a summoner. He felt that the news would have a great impact on Xiaoning, and the summoners of the Order Committee had been exaggerated by those film and television dramas, giving people the impression that they were on the verge of life and death every day and in various situations. Dealing with monsters, although this is the reality, it is even more exaggerated and dangerous than what is shown in movies and TV shows. Xiaoping'an didn't want Xiaoning to worry too much, so he just spoke lightly, making Xiaoning think that he was just using his remote viewing ability to serve the Order Committee. The two brothers and sister waited at the door for more than 10 minutes, and it was getting dark. Xiaoping'an called the new landlord again, and the woman answered the phone. "What's the rush? I'll be here after dinner," the woman said and hung up the phone. "Come on, let's go out to eat tonight and come back after dinner." Xiaoping'an smiled apologetically at Xiaoning. "But I want to eat the fragrant pot soup you made, brother. I haven't eaten it for a long time." Xiaoning looked at the ingredients Xiaoping'an bought and couldn't help but swallowed. "Brother, the soup you made is the best. No one can compare to the food." The fragrant pot soup made by Xiaoping'an in Xiaoning's mouth is the Buddha jumps over the wall made by Xiaoping'an, but there is no Buddha jumps over the wall in this world, only Xia's fragrant pot soup in Xiaoning's mouth. "Anyway, I haven't cooked well today. It will take a day or two to soak in water. I don't know when the new landlord will come. We too, don't wait here stupidly. We should fill our stomachs first. We can also eat delicious food outside." "Okay," Xiaoning laughed again and hugged Xiaoping'an's arm. "Just think of it as a celebration, brother, that you changed your job and became a civil servant." Xiaoning, who was holding Xiaoping'an's arm, felt something hard in the clothes under Xiaoping'an's arm, and asked, "Brother, what is something hard on your body?" "That's the gun Xiaoping'an carries. The whole city is full of dangers. Since Xiaoping'an can bring a gun back, he will bring it back. In addition to the gun, he also took the reporter's ID with him when he and Anqing went out today, and he has not yet returned it to the office. Those are your brothers and my work supplies. They belong to the Order Committee. They are kept confidential. Let's go." Xiaoping'an smiled and without saying much, hung the ingredients at the door and took Xiaoning downstairs. Xiaoning didn't ask further questions. The two of them found a nice restaurant outside the community and had dinner to celebrate Xiaoping'an's new job. After dinner, it was already past 8 p.m., and the two slowly returned to the community. Just as he returned to the gate of the community, Xiaoping'an's phone rang. When he looked at the phone number, it was the new landlord. Xiaoping'an answered the phone. "Where are you? Where have you gone?" "We are here, where have you been?" the woman said aggressively on the phone. "I'm in the community downstairs, I'm coming up now." "Humph, hurry up. After signing the contract and paying the money, we have to go back. Don't waste our time." The woman hung up the phone again. When Xiaoping'an and Xiaoning returned home, they found that the door had been opened, the lights in the room were on, and the door was wide open. The ingredients that Xiaoping'an had hung outside the door had also been turned over. The things that were originally neat in the bag were now a mess. Xiaoning bit her lip, glanced at Xiaoping'an, silently held the bag of ingredients Xiaoping'an bought in her hand, and entered the house. There are two people watching TV in the house, a man and a woman. They look like a couple. There was a middle-aged woman with a fat body, a fat face, heavy makeup, who looked a bit sharp and shrewd, and a middle-aged man in his 40s, with big shoulders and a round waist, and a short haircut, a middle-aged man with a big body and a thick waist. The young man was wearing a t-shirt, and half of his colorful tattoos were exposed on his exposed arms. The man was sitting on the sofa smoking a cigarette, as if he were a mountain eagle, and the ashes of his cigarette flicked onto the floor of the living room. The originally clean house had messy footprints all over the floor. Many things in the house seemed to have been changed. Several paintings that Xiaoning had hung on the walls of the living room were gone, leaving a vacant space on the wall. Seeing that the painting she had drawn was gone, Xiaoning's expression changed. She put the ingredients in the kitchen and came to the living room. Where is my painting? The middle-aged woman glanced at Xuanning lightly and said sharply, little girl, can you speak? What paintings? The furniture and things in this house are all ours, we have bought them, you are just renting the house. Yes, where can I find your things? That painting is mine. Xuanning bit her lip. The paintings hanging in the room were all painted by Xuanning, and each painting contained stories and memories of her and Xiaopinggan. They were the most precious memories of the two brothers and sisters along the way. Xiaopinggan glanced at the situation in the house and found that even the things in the bedrooms of the two brothers and sisters had been turned over. He came to the living room with a cold face and looked at the two new landlords. That painting was painted by my sister herself. It doesn't belong to the landlord. If you return the painting, we won't rent it anymore and will move it away. You are Xiaopinggan. The woman glanced at Xiaopinggan and started to lie directly. What painting? I didn't see it. At this moment, Xuanning remembered something, her face changed, and she quickly opened a drawer in the living room. The things in the drawer had been rummaged through a bit messy. Xuanning took out the box where the two brothers and sisters kept their money at home. Opening the box was empty. All the money that had been placed in the box was gone. Brother, our money is gone. Xuanning was so aggrieved that she almost cried. The money there was the living expenses of the two of them, as well as the summer vacation expenses that Xiaopinggan had left for Xuanning, and pocket money. The total was about there are more than 27,000 yuan. Tiger is here to wish all book friends a happy Spring Festival and good luck in the Year of the Ox. Tiger Spring Festival keeps updating, keep updating. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 43. Seeing that the money he kept at home was missing, Xiaopinggan understood what was happening here. Xiaopinggan patted Xuanning on the shoulder, pulled Xuanning to his side, smiled slightly, it's okay, leave it to me. Xuanning glared at the middle-aged man and woman, give us our money back. Little girl, what kind of money? Don't talk nonsense, we have never seen it. The middle-aged woman stared at Xuanning fiercely and threatened, if you talk nonsense again, be careful, I will tear your mouth apart. Xiaopinggan pulled Xuanning behind him, then looked at the middle-aged man and woman. He did not get angry, but said calmly, return my sister's painting and our money, and I won't care about the rest. Boy, are you blackmailing people here? The thick-set middle-aged man suddenly stood up, threw the cigarette butt on the ground, crushed it with his foot, and slapped a contract on the table. On the table, he stared and said, don't do this to me. If you want to continue living here, just sign the contract. If you don't want to live here, pay the rent immediately and move out. You don't want to ask me about Malu, what kind of person? The woman also pointed at Xiaopinggan and cursed aggressively. You are a car mechanic, your sister is still in school, and you have no father or mother. Where did you get the money? Don't try to blackmail me. The floor in this house is already stained, the bathroom pipes need to be repaired, and the wallpaper needs to be repaired. There are some damages. These were all damaged when you lived there. I asked you to pay me for it, but you came to ask me for money. To repair these, it will cost at least 50,000 to 60,000 yuan. If you two don't take care of this house, pay all the losses and don't even think about leaving. You guys. It was the first time she encountered such an unreasonable and bullying person, and Xianing's face turned pale with anger. As for Xiaopinggan, as soon as he heard the woman say that he was a car repairman and his parents were away, he understood that these two people already knew that he and Xuanning were helpless and had no social relationship, so they unscrupulous. I'll give you one last chance. Return your money and things, and we'll move out tomorrow, Xiaopinggan said to the two people. Boy, are you looking for trouble? The middle-aged man came over menacingly. Believe it or not, I will kill you. My brother is at the police station nearby. How many people in my family are at the police station? I was afraid that you would call the police. Do you think I would be afraid of you two little brats? The woman also gathered around and pointed at the two of them, yelling loudly, I still need you two to repay the damage to my house. Ha ha. Xiaopingan smiled. These two people should be a couple. This man should be hanging around outside. He is not even in the underworld. He should just know a few people. It is indeed possible that this woman's brother is in the police station. Relying on this little connection, when the couple saw someone who was easy to bully, they would resort to cheating and bullying, and they would dominate and dominate. When ordinary people encounter such a thing, they really can't do anything with two people. These two people must have tasted a lot of sweetness using this method before, so they become more and more unscrupulous. I hope you won't regret it. Xiaopingan didn't say anything, just pulled Xiaoning, turned around, and left the house directly. Boy, who are you scaring? First pay for the damage to our house before we leave. The woman said, giving the man a wink, and the two men came over to fight. This kind of dispute between ordinary people, once there is a fight, even if the police are called, the dispute will not be clear. Seeing that the two of them were coming to fight, Xiaopingan left the room with Xiaoning without saying a word, turned around and left. The two couples were stunned for a moment and glanced at each other. Based on their experience, when two young people encounter this kind of thing, other than making a fuss or calling the police, there is nothing else they can do. Anyway, they are already prepared. They are really not afraid of wrangling, calling the police or anything like that. Xiaoning held back her anger. She didn't know why Xiaopingan took her away from home. After walking down from the upstairs of the unit and coming under the street lights of the community, Xiaoning was so aggrieved that she almost cried, Brother, this is what they are good at, being unreasonable, quarreling, swearing, and being arrogant. We are not good at these, so we don't need to compete with them. If a dog bites you, you can't follow it and ask for another bite. Xiaopingan laughed. He smiled and said, just find a dog beating stick. So where are our things still up there? The money of the two brothers and sisters' belongings in that house had been taken away. The other things left were a few paintings by Xiaoning, some clothes, and so on. Well, they can't take those things away. If you argue with them, you can't make a phone call. If they started tearing them apart when I was on the phone just now, I'm afraid I'd scare you. They just want to fight with us. If you touch them, she fell to the ground, and the money really won't come back. Xiaopingan smiled, took out the phone and dialed the Xianghe City police number. Seeing that Xiaopingan was not in a hurry, Xiaoning calmed down even though the atmosphere was difficult to dissipate. She knew that her brother had never disappointed anyone. Hello, this is Xianghe City's public alarm hotline. How can we help you? A female police officer's voice came from the other side of the phone. Hello, do I want to report a crime? Please tell us your detailed address and what happened to you, and we will send someone to deal with it immediately. My name is Xiaopingan, and I am the special correspondent of Optics Valley News Agency in Xianghe City. My residence in Xianghe City was robbed. The stolen property was several paintings, 500,000 in cash, a pistol, and more than 10 bullets. Xiaoning listened with her eyes widened. As soon as she heard what Xiaopingan said, she knew that her brother was going to deal with people. However, wasn't her brother in the order committee? Why? Became the special correspondent of Optics Valley News Agency in Xianghe City? Xiaoning was confused, but she just listened and didn't speak or interrupt. You said you are a special correspondent of Optics Valley News Agency in Xianghe City. Your residence was robbed and a gun and more than 10 bullets were lost. The voice of the female police officer who had been calm just now on the phone suddenly became nervous. The reporters of the Optics Valley News Agency are not ordinary local media reporters. The reports and press releases of the Optics Valley News Agency reporters can go directly to the highest level of Dayan country. Therefore, the local government is very careful when dealing with the reporters of the Optics Valley News Agency. Don't dare to be careless. As for gun cases, they are also the most tense and important cases for the police. Gun-related cases must be directly reported to the City Bureau and handled directly by the City Bureau's Criminal Police Brigade. The female police officer on the other side of the phone suddenly became nervous when she heard that Xiaoping'an's report actually involved these two elements, and that it was the person who recorded and threw the gun from Optics Valley News Agency, and quickly wanted to confirm. Well, yes, my press pass number is Light 898716549119, my gun license number is First Class 364500161717, and the model of my lost gun is Manuan MR98, which is a special work gun. Of course, ordinary reporters do not have gun certificates, but it is normal for reporters from Optics Valley News Agency to have gun certificates, because everyone who knows about it understands that reporters from Optics Valley News Agency are not just reporters to a certain extent. And they may be responsible for some special investigation tasks and are intelligence agents holding press cards. Even in Dayan, they may encounter some unexpected events, so they can carry guns. The landlord of the house I rented before changed. Today I came home and found that after the locks in the house were changed, the money and guns in the house were missing. The things in the house had been rummaged through. It must have been theft. I rented the house. The detailed address of the house is. Well, yes, it is no longer safe for me here. Someone just threatened me physically and wanted to kill me. Yes, they were at my residence when I went back. I am preparing to arrive now. Stay at Guangzhou Hotel. If you have any problems, you can come to Guangzhou Hotel to find me. Yes, you can contact me with this mobile phone. After calling the police and hanging up the phone, Xiaoping'an smiled slightly at the stunned Xiaoning. Let's go, I will take you to a 5-star hotel today. Brother, are you rich? Xiaoning looked at Xiaoping'an in confusion. Xiaoping'an shrugged. Someone will pay the bill for us. Is this the dog beating stick you're looking for? Well, some mad dogs are unscrupulous and dare to show their teeth when they see people. The reason is that they lack social beatings. Just give them a couple of beatings. Xiaoping'an touched Xiaoning's head again. Let's go, let's take a taxi. Brother, does pretending to be a reporter have nothing to do with saying you have a gun license? Xiaoning was still a little confused and worried. You just said it so smoothly, I almost believed it. It doesn't matter, this is the benefit of the order committee, you can fake it as you like. Really? Xiaoning looked at Xiaoping'an in confusion, feeling that something was wrong. Xiaoping'an took Xiaoning out of the community, called a taxi, and went straight to Guangzhou Hotel. Less than 10 minutes after Xiaoping'an and the others left here, several police cars drove to the community and a team of heavily armed special police jumped out of an explosion-proof vehicle. The special police rushed upstairs, and within a short time, they carried the middle-aged man and woman wearing black hoods down the stairs. Under the black hood, the woman who had acted mischievously just now had her hair messed up, her face was swollen on one side, her whole body was shaking, and she looked panicked. As for the man with tattoos on his arms, his face was covered in blood, and a few of his front teeth were knocked out by the SWAT gun butt. His body was like chaff, like a dead fish. The two of them were in the room just now, rummaging through things, throwing away Xiaoping'an and Xiaoning's things, and planning to throw these things out tomorrow. Suddenly, the security door was broken open from the outside. A team of SWAT officers wearing hoods and black uniforms rushed in with guns drawn. The tattooed man's head was short-circuited and he didn't understand the situation. When he saw a group of men in black rushing in, he just wanted to grab a thermos bottle at hand to defend himself. Don't move. A special police officer rushed in and roared. He hit the tattooed man in the face with the butt of his gun, and then kicked him to the ground with a kick in the stomach. "What are you doing?" the woman screamed with her teeth and claws bared, trying to pull her away, but was strangled by the neck and pushed to the ground by a special police officer who rushed over. The woman fell down and hit one side of her face on the floor. Half of her face was numb and swollen in the blink of an eye. Facing the black muzzle of the gun and the violent machine, the two of them were frightened and didn't know what was happening. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 44. The taxi stopped directly next to the fountain sculpture at the entrance of Guangzhou Hotel. As soon as the car stopped, the hotel doorman in a black tuxedo opened the taxi door with standard movements. After paying, Xuanning got out of the car with Xiaopinggan and walked towards the hotel lobby. Looking at the magnificent lobby of the hotel, the well-dressed guests coming and going, and the million-dollar luxury cars parked in the parking lot next to the hotel entrance, Xiaopinggan looked at ease, and Xuanning pulled Xiaopinggan's hand timidly. "Clothes," he said guiltily, "brother, isn't it too luxurious for us to come here? Guangzhou Hotel is a chain of 5-star international hotels. In a city like Xianghe, a 5-star hotel is already a top-notch hotel. It doesn't matter. Didn't you say before that the desserts and the infinity hot spring pool here are the best? You can try them later," Xiaopinggan said to Xuanning with a smile. "I heard what my classmate said," Xuanning said softly, "I didn't say I was coming. It must be very expensive here. Your brother and I are here, so you don't have to worry. I haven't brought you here before, so you just come here to experience it today." Seeing Xiaopinggan's calm and steady face, Xuanning felt inexplicably relieved and no longer nervous. Ever since she was a child, as long as Xiaopinggan said these words, Xuanning knew that, really, her brother could do it if the sky fell. Support her. Xiaopinggan brought Xuanning here not just for enjoyment and status, but because he knew that a safe house of the Xianghe City Order Committee was in this hotel. Moreover, the security of the entire Guangzhou Hotel in the Great Yan Kingdom is handled by the Imperial Security Company established by summoners who have retired from the National Order Committee and elites of the Quick Reaction Force. Living here is the safest. Xianghe City is not very peaceful now. Xiaopinggan is not at ease when he takes Xuanning to a strange place that he is not familiar with. Xiaopinggan himself has an ID card for a security guard of the Imperial Security Company, which he can use when necessary. Just now he took Xuanning into the hotel. Since both of them were dressed relatively casually, Xiaopinggan could already feel the eyes of several security guards in suits in the hotel lobby falling on him. Several hidden cameras around the lobby were rotating, already focused on him and Xuanning. Using his remote viewing ability to look at the hotel's security monitoring room, Xiaopinggan saw his and Xuanning's faces on several monitors in the security room. On the surveillance screen in the security room, 2 yellow data frames were following him and Xuanning. After he walked to the hotel lobby, the yellow data frame suddenly turned red and made a beeping sound. The alarm sounded, and everyone in the security room suddenly became nervous. Several security guards in the hotel lobby immediately quickened their pace and moved towards him from several directions without leaving any trace. Xiaopinggan saw on a surveillance screen in the monitoring room that his body had become translucent, and the outline of the firearm he was carrying under his arm was instantly recognized by the surveillance screen, a high-tech shortwave infrared camera. And millimeter-wave radar allows the surveillance room to detect weapons and other dangerous items hidden on a person through his clothes in the lobby. At this moment, just 2 or 3 seconds had passed, and before the hotel security in the lobby approached, the big data face recognition system on the hotel intranet had identified Xiaopinggan's identity. The red number box that followed Xiaopinggan on the surveillance screen suddenly turned green, and a special security identification code was displayed on Xiaopinggan's head. The alarm in the security room was instantly lifted. Those who were walking towards Xiaopinggan in the hotel lobby and the security guards received reminders from their headsets. After taking a look at Xiaopinggan from a distance, they naturally moved to other places. In just a few seconds, an invasion and counter-intrusion, crisis and counter-crisis hotel security incident quietly occurred and then was quietly resolved, as if nothing happened. The melodious piano music was still echoing in the lobby. Others in the lobby found nothing. The spring water was gurgling. Xiaopinggan was very satisfied with the hotel's response. There was nothing unusual in the lobby, and Xiaoning, who was following Xiaopinggan, didn't notice anything either. Xiaopinggan had already brought Xiaoning to the front desk of the hotel. "Hello, sir, I'm glad to serve you. What do you need?" the sweet hotel receptionist said with a smile to Xiaopinggan, who was walking over. "Give me a suite with 2 bedrooms. Our luxury hot spring suite can meet your needs, sir. There is also a hot spring bath in the room. The one-day stay price is 3,900 yuan. Sir, do you need this? Okay, come to me and book a room for 2 days to spend the weekend." Xiaopinggan nodded, took out his wallet, and handed over his ID card and a bank card. Xiaoning was shocked when she heard that staying here for one night cost 3,900 yuan. "Brother, you are crazy." Xiaoning tugged on Xiaopinggan's clothes and whispered, "It costs so much money for one night here, it's too expensive." Xiaopinggan smiled and touched Xiaoning's head without explaining anything. Soon, the procedures were completed, and the hotel front desk with a sweet smile handed over Xiaopinggan's ID, bank card, and 2 room cards with both hands. "Sir, your room is at number 2388. There is an elevator over there. Turn left when you get out of the elevator. Do you need me to have someone take you up?" "Thank you, no need, let's go up ourselves." Xiaopinggan smiled, took the things, and then handed a room card to Xiaoning. "Let's go." "Brother, it's too expensive here. One day's stay is more expensive than our previous month's rent," Xiaoning muttered quietly as she walked, with a look of pain and curiosity on her face. "Well, it doesn't matter, just think of it as coming here to celebrate my brother's new job." Xiaopinggan smiled. "Anyway, someone will help us pay the bill. If someone wants to give us money in a hurry, it won't work if we don't accept it. If everything goes well, we can buy a car next week, and then we can move to a better place to live." Xiaoning's mind is very flexible. When Xiaopinggan said this, she understood a little bit when she thought about the call to the police that her brother made just now, but she still felt a little incredible. She was so calm, as if she often faced such rogues. Same as husband and wife. The two of them had just walked towards the elevator. Before they could reach the elevator, an elevator door opened. Fang Lingshan walked out of the elevator and saw Xiaopinggan walking over with a young and beautiful girl. Fang Lingshan was a little surprised. She didn't expect to meet Xiaopinggan here. She looked at Xiaoning next to Xiaopinggan. She didn't know what she thought of, and her expression moved slightly. A grown man brings a young and beautiful girl to the hotel. What else can a man do without a woman? Thinking about something in her mind, Fang Lingshan's eyes suddenly turned cold when she looked at Xiaopinggan, with a hint of contempt and disdain. Ah, Fang Lingshan, what a coincidence. Xiaopinggan didn't expect to meet Fang Lingshan here, and was a little surprised. At this time, Fang Lingshan was wearing exquisite makeup, a gorgeous fiery red evening dress, half-exposed shoulders, shiny high heels, and a string of diamond necklaces shining brightly on her chest. She looked both noble and cool. When Fang Lingshan walked out of the elevator, she was like a magnet, and many men in the hall looked over. "Is this how you spend your weekend? It's really special." Fang Lingshan glanced at Xiaopinggan coldly and said sarcastically. Xiaoning was shrewd. She just saw the change in Fang Lingshan's face and suddenly understood in her heart. She smiled and took the initiative to say hello to Fang Lingshan and stretched out her hand. "This is Lingshan, hello, I am Xiaoning, Xiaopinggan's biological sister, nice to meet you." Xianing's words caught Fang Lingshan off guard. She looked at Xiaopinggan, then at Xianing, and found that there were indeed two similarities between their eyebrows. Thinking of her mocking and misunderstanding of Xiaopinggan just now, Fang Lingshan suddenly felt that her face was a little feverish. After she regained her composure, she smiled slightly apologetically at Xiaopinggan, stretched out her hand and shook Xianing's hand. "I'm sorry, I was a little rude just now. I'm your brother's colleague." "I know. I knew it just now when I saw Sister Lingshan. My brother mentioned you to me before." Xianing's smile was cuter than the front desk of the hotel, sweet, friendly and pure. "Your brother also talked about me." Fang Lingshan was really surprised. Unexpectedly, Xiaopinggan actually introduced herself to his sister. Women are curious, especially about things that concern themselves. Fang Lingshan's tone was unknowable. Zhu showed his intention to ask. Xiaopinggan gave Xianing a warning look, telling Xianing not to talk nonsense, but Xianing deliberately turned a blind eye. "My brother said that last time he and Sister Lingshan went on a mission together to chase down the magic rat. Sister Lingshan had short hair and was heroic, beautiful, capable, and in good shape. My brother even mentioned it to me 5 times, right? Elder brother. This is a scam." Xiaopinggan glared at Xianing. Fang Lingshan glanced at Xiaopinggan. She really didn't expect that Xiaopinggan would praise her so much. Xiaopinggan was slightly embarrassed, but Fang Lingshan's awkward look was particularly interesting. Fang Lingshan looked aloof to others, but to Xianing, after chatting with Xianing for a few words and listening to Xianing calling Sister Lingshan one after another, Fang Lingshan behaved very kindly, as if she had changed. Like a person. Xianing took the opportunity to tell Fang Lingshan that there was something wrong with the house she and Xiaopinggan were renting, so Xiaopinggan brought her to the hotel to stay. Fang Lingshan came here because she wanted to attend a friend's cocktail party, but now she had something to do and had to leave. Xiaopinggan knew why Fang Lingshan left, because it was time to light the lanterns. When Fang Lingshan left, Xianing actually asked for Fang Lingshan's phone number. Xiaopinggan was speechless. The two watched Fang Lingshan leave the lobby, get into a black Lamborghini outside the lobby, and disappear at the door in the blink of an eye. The two of them entered the elevator, and Xianing began to wink at Xiaopinggan. "Brother, Sister Lingshan is pretty good. You gained a sister so quickly." Xiaopinggan gave Xianing a head start. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 45. Brother, the morning buffet in this hotel restaurant is great. The ice cream and cakes are so delicious. But I have to go back to school tomorrow night and won't be able to eat them for the next few days. I really can't bear to part with them. What should I do? The next morning, when Xiaopinggan and Xianing came out from the hotel's buffet restaurant after breakfast, Xianing, who had a round belly, had new worries. As a foodie, to Xianing, the buffet restaurant of Guangzhou Hotel was like Ma's father-in-law discovering the new world. "We can't afford to go back these days. I put some money in your card. If you need clothes or something, you can buy it yourself," Xiaopinggan said to Xianing. "Brother, you reported the crime yesterday, can we get our money back?" "Don't worry," Xiaopinggan replied confidently. "If a reporter from Optics Valley News Agency lost money and a gun in Xianghe City, and the police could not solve the case even if the suspects were two rogues who only knew how to play tricks, then the police in Xianghe City would be too incompetent. Therefore, this case must be solved, and the person who reported the case must be given an explanation." At this moment, Xiaopinggan's cell phone rang. Xiaopinggan took out the phone and saw that it was an unfamiliar mobile phone number. Xiaopinggan answered the call. "Hello." There was a female voice on the other side of the phone. "Is this Mr. Xiaopinggan?" "Hello, I am Officer Qian Lan of the Xianghe City Police Department. My colleagues and I are now in the lobby of Guangzhou Hotel. Yesterday, We illegally invaded your rented house and committed theft. We have captured the suspect, interrogated him overnight last night, and got some results. We want to check with you and get some information. Are you in the hotel lobby? Okay, I'll come down now. After hanging up the phone, Xuanhuan stuck out her tongue. Brother, did the police call you? Well, I'll handle this matter. Don't worry about it. I may not have time to accompany you today. We are moving in a few days. There is a computer in the hotel. You can look at where is more suitable on the computer today and look for a house. After finishing the work, I will go out and look around in person, and we will discuss it when we come back in the evening to see where it is suitable to move. Good. The two separated at the elevator. Xuanhuan returned to the room, while Xiaopinggan took the elevator to the hotel lobby. As soon as he walked to the hotel lobby, he saw two people sitting on the sofa in the lounge area of the lobby. The two people were a man and a woman. Both of them were wearing casual clothes and were in good spirits. The man is in his 30s, has a crew cut, wears a black jacket, and has sharp eyes. The woman is in her 20s, has a ponytail, is very good looking, and is wearing a sophisticated and decent women's casual suit. The two people were chatting, but their eyes were focused on the elevator. Xiaopinggan walked over directly. Seeing Xiaopinggan coming, the two people glanced at Xiaopinggan's face and stood up. Mr. Xiaopinggan, hello, the woman smiled and took the initiative to extend her hand to Xiaopinggan, warm and generous. I am Xuanhuan, from the Public Relations Department of Xianghe City Police Department, and this is Lu Rui, from Xianghe City Police Department, Deputy Captain of the Criminal Investigation Team of the Bureau. The case you reported last night will be handled by the two of us. The Xianghe City Police Department sent a beautiful police officer from the Public Relations Department and a deputy captain from the Criminal Investigation Brigade to handle the matter. This was a gesture that showed that the police attached great importance to Xiaopinggan's case. Xiaopinggan shook hands with the two police officers and then sat on the sofa in the rest area. As soon as he sat on the sofa, Xiaopinggan said, I'm sorry that I caused trouble to the police station yesterday. If it were an ordinary minor matter, I could handle it myself and wouldn't call the police. But yesterday's situation was special. My residence was illegally invaded and I lost a lot of belongings, including my paintings and my work gun, and I also encountered people who threatened me with death. I had no choice but to leave with my sister and then call the police for help. Xuanhuan and Lu Rui looked at each other and felt relieved when they saw Xiaopinggan's calm attitude. Yesterday, the couple were arrested and taken back to the police station. After an interrogation, they were so frightened that they peed and confessed everything. The couple were the new landlords. They indeed entered Xiaopinggan's rented house without Xiaopinggan's permission and hired a locksmith to change the locks on the new house. Not to mention, if you just change the lock, it won't be a big problem. More importantly, after the two people entered the house rented by Xiaopinggan, their hands and feet were unclean. Several hanging paintings and more than 20,000 yuan found at home were all taken away. The reason why those two people were so unscrupulous was because they heard that Xiaopinggan was just a car repairman with a younger sister. He had no power and was the kind of person who was easy to bully, so the two people deliberately wanted to bully others and take advantage. According to the couple's explanation, Xiaopinggan's lost painting has been found in their home. The money they took from the house was only more than 20,000 yuan. As for the firearms, they had never seen it before. When they heard that Xiaopinggan was a reporter from Optics Valley News Agency and reported that 500,000 yuan was lost along with a gun and bullets, the couple were frightened to death. They cried and swore in the interrogation room, swearing to both of them. I only took those things, I didn't see any guns, and I only took less than 30,000 yuan in money. After interrogating the two people separately and confirming repeatedly, the investigators of the Xianghe City Police had a rough idea of what was going on. The couple had hit a brick wall this time. Pack them up. The police have verified that Xiaoping'an's Optics Valley News Agency's press card and first-class gun license are genuine and there are no problems. Then, the rest can only be done according to the rules. Those two people had both been stolen, so no matter what Xiaoping'an reported missing or how much money was lost, they could only carry it and bear all the responsibilities. The common routine of people in society, such as acting arrogant and unreasonable, it doesn't matter who they know at home, or who they know, is just a joke in the face of the iron fist and serious procedures of the state's violent agencies. We learned that Mr. Xia should have worked in a car repair shop in Xianghe City before. After a few people chatted for a while, Lu Rui nodded lightly next to him. Xiaoping'an smiled and nodded, his expression unchanged. Officer Lu is right. I did work in an auto repair factory in Xianghe City before. I don't deny this. As for the difference between my previous job and my current job, relationship, as well as the purpose of my work, firearm, and the source of income and funds, Officer Lu, are you sure you want to know? If you really want to know, I can tell you. Looking at Xiaoping'an's smile, Officer Lu felt a chill in his heart and shook his head quickly. After working in this industry for a long time, Officer Lu knows very well that knowing too much about some things may not necessarily be a blessing. What he said just now is just an insinuation to remind Xiaoping'an that enough is enough. This gun case is weighing heavily on the Xianghe City Police Department. Above, the leaders above also have some headaches and don't want to make things worse. Qianqing glanced at Lu Rui and took over with a smile. We respect your current work, Mr. Xia, but we will not interfere with Mr. Xia's specific work content, unless of course we need our assistance. The problem is that some of Mr. Xia's lost property and gun have not yet been found, but we have captured and controlled both of the two suspects. There is a slight discrepancy between Mr. Xia's lost property and gun and their confessions, but I think there is a problem. It's not big, it probably only takes a while to find it. What do you think, Mr. Xia? Yes, I also think this matter is not a big problem. As long as the person is under control, other things can be found slowly. After having a tacit understanding with each other, Qianlan and Lu Rui chatted with Xiaoping'an for a few words, and then followed the routine procedure of asking Xiaoping'an to go to the police station and identify the suspect in person. The two people's cars were parked outside, and Xiaoping'an followed them out of the lobby and drove to the Xianghe City Police Station. In a room in the police station, through the single-view glass in the room, Xiaoping'an once again saw the man and the woman with the tattoos on their arms last night. The scars on the man's face were not healed yet, his nose was flat, his teeth were broken, several front teeth were missing, and his face was too miserable to look at. Half of the woman's face was swollen, her complexion was pale, and her eyebrows were downcast. The two of them were handcuffed and wearing prison uniforms. They were like weak chickens fished out of a hot soup pot. They were escorted to the identification room by several policemen and stood there. Next to the wall with high stripes, he stood facing the single-view glass with a panicked expression. Xiaoping'an has no sympathy for what happened to the two of them. His principle of dealing with things is to become more kind when encountering good, and become even more evil when encountering evil. Seeing that those two people were not doing well, and would definitely not be doing so for a long time in the future, Xiaoping'an was relieved and greatly comforted. He nodded firmly to Qianlan and Lu Rui next to him. Yes, it's the two of them. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 46. After identifying the person, Xiaoping'an regained the key to his rental house and refused Qianlan and Lu Rui to send him back to the hotel. He walked out of the police station and went to a nearby bus stop. After waiting for a while, he saw when bus number 27 arrived, Xiaoping'an got on the bus and left on the bus. If something like this happens, the rental house can no longer be lived in. He and Xiaoning will move soon. But before moving, you need to decide where you want to move. Anyway, today is the weekend, so Xiaopinggan has just enough time to take the bus around the city a few times to see where it is more suitable. After determining the general area and the community where he wants to live, he will find an agent. In this way, it will be more efficient to find a new house. Today is the weekend, there are no office workers, so there are not many people on the bus. Xiaopinggan took the bus around Xianghe City. When he saw a suitable community, he got off the bus and walked around the community to understand the environment around the community. When he saw a suitable community, he first remembered the name of the community. Save it for comparison later. Before I knew it, the morning and most of the afternoon passed. Xiaopinggan spent most of the day looking at more than 10 communities in Xianghe City. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Xiaopinggan, who had just visited a community, came to the bus stop outside the community and got on the number 98 bus. This bus was bound for the northern suburbs of Xianghe City. There are also several communities in the northern suburbs, and it's relatively close to Xianing's school, and Xiaopinggan also wants to stop by and have a look. When getting on the bus, there were still many empty seats, so Xiaopinggan walked to the middle of the bus and found a seat at the back. In front of Xiaopinggan sat a young couple, behind him sat 2 aunts preparing to go on an outing, on the left sat a middle school student in school uniform, in front of him there was a housewife, an elderly couple and a middle-aged man carrying a briefcase. Year man. On the bus, the 2 aunts at the back were chatting, and the young couple in front were making love to each other. The man was twirling his fingers in the woman's hair, and was whispering into the woman's ear from time to time. The others were all a little numb, looking down at the phone. The murder case in Lingxi building yesterday was still being broadcast on the bus's TV. In just over 10 minutes, Gao Qingshan's wanted order appeared twice on the bus's TV news program. People in the bus, no one cares. Xiaopinggan took out his mobile phone and took a look. There is no report on Gao Qingshan's situation in the order committee's mobile phone implant program, and there are no other task prompts, indicating that Fang Lingshan and the others did not find anything abnormal when they lit the lights last night. However, Xiaoning just posted a WeChat Moments. There were 3 photos in the WeChat Moments. One was her beauty selfie in the Infinity Hot Spring Pool of Guangzhou Hotel last night, and the other was a vanilla ice cream and small cake in the hotel buffet restaurant. There is a photo of Xiaopinggan's back in the hotel lobby. The text on the circle of friends is a single man who throws his sister to Guangzhou Hotel when he gets busy, and goes about his own business without taking a hot spring bath, swimming, or eating ice cream cakes. I don't know what to say. Every day you're so busy, but I don't see you bringing a sister-in-law back, It has to be said that Xianing's circle of friends has captured the essence of Versailles literature. Anyone who reads Xianing's circle of friends will probably have 3 judgments in their minds. From the appearance of Xianing's sister, probably it can be inferred that Xiaopinggan's appearance is not bad, and that he can throw his sister into the Guangzhou Hotel. It means that Xiaopinggan is not short of money, and his income is at least decent. Not bathing in hot springs, not swimming, not eating ice cream cakes, not taking his sister-in-law home, it shows that Xiaopinggan is a decent single young straight man who is immersed in his work and career. As for the photo of Xiaopinggan walking in the hotel lobby from behind, he is young, tall, strong, and has a sense of mystery. Seeing that Xiaoning was advertising for his girlfriend again, Xiaopinggan smiled bitterly and sent an emoticon of hitting his head with a hammer to Xiaoning's WeChat Moments. Xiaoning replied instantly and made a face at him. Xiaopinggan smiled slightly. The bus passed several stops, and when it arrived at the entrance of a park, the 2 aunts sitting behind Xiaopinggan got off the bus together, and a middle-aged woman got on the bus. A few minutes later, the bus arrived at another station. The young couple got off the bus, and 4 people came up at the station. A young middle-aged couple with a 7 or 8-year-old boy, and an old man. The old man was wearing a blue sweater and looked to be in his 60s. He was wearing a gray soft hat. He was carrying several supermarket shopping paper bags in his hands. The shopping paper bags contained some ribs, potatoes, and celery. The middle-aged couple and the little boy sat in the two empty seats in front, while the old man carrying a shopping bag walked towards the back of the car, seemingly wanting to sit in the seat of the little boy who had just left. Couple's seat. Anyone who sees the old man will think that the old man is an old man who goes to the supermarket to buy food on weekends, and will not care much about it. Xiaopinggan didn't care at first, he just glanced at the old man and looked away. However, when the old man came over and gradually approached Xiaopinggan's eyebrows suddenly started to beat, and the Requiem flag in the secret mandala seemed to have a feeling and was fluttering gently. This is the first time Xiaopinggan has encountered this situation. The Requiem flag fluttering on the white jade relief in the secret mandala seems to be attracted by something and moves without the wind. The only thing that can induce the Requiem banner is a desecrated corpse. Xiaopinggan was startled when he thought of the introductions to the Requiem flag he had seen. The old man is dead, a living corpse still walking. Xiaopinggan lowered his head, scrolling through his phone idly like everyone else in the car, but his heart was already churning. Yesterday, they were still looking for the member of the Devil's Eye who was fused with the brain-eating worms in the city, and they were still looking for the living corpse controlled by the brain-eating worms. They found nothing yesterday, but they didn't expect that they would encounter one today. Since there is a living corpse here, it means that Gao Qingshan or the member of Devil's Eye is still in Xianghe City. The melon has not been found yet, but the vine has been touched. Damn, what kind of luck is this? He and young Master Mo Yan worked hard for a long time yesterday and didn't catch a single hair. They thought Gao Qingshan might have left Xianghe City. Young Master Mo Yan and the others came out to light the lamps last night and found nothing unusual. I went to the police station myself and took a bus in Xianghe City for a day, and I actually met one on the bus. This is really in line with the saying it takes no effort to find something without trying to find anything. The other passengers on the bus were completely unaware of the fact that there was a moving corpse sitting on the bus, and there was also a summoner sitting on the bus. Everything is so scary. After figuring out the situation, Xiaopinggan remained calm, still playing with his mobile phone with his head down, and did not act rashly. After a few more stops, the number 98 bus had arrived at the outskirts of the city, and the old man carrying the shopping bag got off the bus. The place where the old man got off the bus was a small town on the outskirts of the city. There was a gas station and a bus stop on the roadside, and not far away was a road leading to the town. To avoid alarming others, Xiaopinggan did not get off at this station. He just used his remote viewing ability to capture everything on the ground from a top-to-bottom perspective like a goshawk from a few hundred meters in the air. Fundus. As long as you don't get too close and observe from a close perspective, like the previous observation of Mo Yanshao, the person being observed, even if he also has remote viewing ability, will have a hard time sensing the angle and height of other people with remote viewing ability. Watching. A few minutes later, 1 kilometer away, the bus arrived at another stop. Xiaopinggan got off the bus and stared at the old man with his remote viewing ability. He walked quickly towards the last bus stop, and then took out cell phone, immediately report the situation to the Xianghe City National Order Committee. Hello, a few seconds later, Mo Yanshao's voice came from the phone. I found a living corpse that may be controlled by brain-eating insects, Xiaopinggan said directly. Where did you find it? What's the situation now? Mo Yanshao's voice suddenly rose several octaves, and his whole person seemed to be energetic. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 47. For the Xianghe City National Order Committee, the current top priority determined after analysis at yesterday's meeting is to determine whether the member of the Devil's Eye who is fused with man-eating insects is still in Xianghe City. Unexpectedly, Xiaopinggan would make an important discovery today. Since the brain-eating worm's host body is in Xianghe City, it means that the main body of the brain-eating worm, Gao Shanqing, is also hidden in Xianghe City. No wonder Mo Yan was a little excited. The target was accidentally discovered on the bus when I was riding it. The target is still moving. I am tracking the target, and the other party has not noticed that I am following it yet. There may be more than one living corpse controlled by the man-eating bugs, and maybe the member of the Devil's Eye is nearby, which is very dangerous. Don't act alone. Remember, you don't act alone, Mo Yanshao said on the phone. They solemnly remind you, don't contact the target yet. You only need to monitor. We will locate the location of your mobile phone and come here immediately. Of course, Xiaoping'an couldn't fight the members of Devil's Eye alone. He could blow the whistle to find helpers but had to fight alone. Wouldn't that be a fool? Okay, I understand. The target is still moving. It is about 1,000 meters away from my mobile phone location. I will continue to monitor it. After ending the call, Xiaoping'an put away his phone and walked quickly on the road. A few minutes later, under the gaze of Xiaoping'an's remote viewing ability, he saw the old man walking into a small yard on the roadside of the town more than 200 meters away from the station. There are several trees planted in the yard, and there is a single-family two-story building. Most of the residents in this small town live in independent small buildings with yards. To avoid alerting the enemy, Xiaoping'an did not use the remote viewing angle to invade the house to investigate, but monitored the yard from outside. More than 10 minutes later, Xiaoping'an came to a water bar in the town more than 200 meters away from the small building. He stared at the small building from a distance, ordered a glass of juice to drink, and then took a few pictures of Mo Yanshao. The photo was sent. After a few minutes, the light in the water bar suddenly went dark, then came on again, and the light bulb flashed a few times. Will there be another problem with the transformer in this small town? The owner of the bar in the water bar muttered as he looked up at the flickering light bulbs. Boss, does it often look like this here? Xiaoping'an asked. It's not very often. It's just that the circuit in the town has occasionally been unstable in the past 6 months. I heard that the transformer is a little old. The boss replied. Xiaoping'an nodded. 20 minutes later, the door of the water bar was pushed open. Li Yunzhou, wearing a hat and a blue power company inspection uniform, walked in, bought a bottle of drink, glanced at Xiaoping'an, and looked at Xiaoping'an. He raised his eyebrows. After Li Yunzhou walked out of the water bar, Xiaoping'an also walked out. Turning around the shade of a tree on the side of the road, Xiaoping'an saw 2 yellow emergency repair vehicles from the power company parked on the side of the road. A ladder stretched out from one of the emergency repair vehicles. There were 2 workers on the ladder inspecting 2 telephone poles, lines and transformers. There was also an equipment repair vehicle parked nearby, and Li Yunzhou got in from the back door of that vehicle. Seeing that no one was paying attention around him, Xiaoping'an also got into the car. The car looked like an electric recovery vehicle on the outside, but there was something else going on inside. Mo Yanshao, Tupolu, and Li Yunzhou, who were wearing the work uniforms of the power company, were in this car. The car was filled with high-tech, complex electronic and monitoring equipment, and the small courtyard that was the target was completely monitored. What's the situation now? Who is the living corpse controlled by the brain-eating worms? Seeing Xiaoping'an enter the car, Mo Yanshao asked directly. I discovered that the living corpse controlled by the brain-eating worm was an old man. After the old man entered the yard, he never came out. It would have been a surprise. I just didn't use my ability to go deep inside to investigate the situation, Xiaoping'an replied. Your handling is correct, Mo Yanshao praised. The member of the Devil's Eye has merged with the brain-eating worm, and his whole perception will be very sharp, and we are not sure what kind of abilities he had before. If that the members of Devil's Eye also happen to have remote viewing capabilities, and they are hiding in that room. If you use your remote viewing capabilities to observe at a close distance, you may be discovered. Xiaopingan nodded, he thought so too. Tupolu stretched out his big hand and patted Xiaopingan on the shoulder. Yes, you have made a great contribution. We were still scratching our heads at the meeting yesterday. We don't know if the member of the Devil's Eye is still hiding in Xianghe City. Thinking that you have found a target today, this means that the member of the Devil's Eye is still in Xianghe City. Even if he is not in the yard, we can still follow the clues and find the member of the Devil's Eye. But Li Yunzhou looked at Xiaopingan with strange eyes and rubbed his chin with his hand. I said, you are so lucky. You can meet your target even if you take the bus. Why am I not so good? Luck. It's not just one ride. I've taken countless buses today and spent a whole day wandering around the city. Boy, I didn't expect that you didn't take a break on the weekend and were still looking for the member of the Devil's Eye alone. Well done. Tupolu looked at Xiaopingan with recognition. Ahem, I'm not looking for that Devil's Eye member. I'm looking for a suitable rental house. I had a falling out with the landlord in the house I rented before. I guess I was kicked out by the landlord and I'm looking for a place to move. Xiaopingan spread his hands and told the truth. It was a complete accident that I met that living corpse. Tupolu and Li Yunzhou were immediately speechless. They didn't know much about the situation at Xiaopingan's home. Only Mo Yanshao had been to where Xiaopingan lived and knew a little about the situation. Boss, Xiaopingan is so pitiful. He still wants to rent a house. You can apply for some extra work for him and buy a big villa in Xianghe City in a minute. How much can it cost? What kind of house can he rent? The provincial government, if those guys know that some of the summoners of Xianghe City's National Order Committee are actually poor and need to rent a house, and they don't laugh out loud, this will affect our image, Li Yunzhou said to Mo Yanshao. Tupolu also looked at Xiaopingan sympathetically, and patted Xiaopingan's shoulder again with a big hand. I didn't expect that I actually know a summoner as poor as you. I can brag to others in the future. Xiaopingan was speechless. He was just renting a house. It was normal. Is it so shabby and exaggerated? Why do they think that I am worse off than the beggars? Mo Yanshao tapped the keyboard in front of him a few times, and a photo of an old man and a household registration information appeared on the monitor in the car. Is the old man you are staring at this person? Xiaopingan glanced at the photo and household registration information and nodded. Yes, that's him. In that household registration information, the old man's name was Sun Defeng. He was an old man who lived alone and his children were not around. The order committee is like a terrifying state machine. When it operates seriously, its efficiency is terrifying. In just a few minutes, the water and electricity consumption data, shopping records, and monitoring data from the roadside where Mr. Sun Defeng lived in the past year were all retrieved, and the big data analysis was completed. Judging from the results of the analysis, only old man Sun Defeng lived in that house, and no one else lived there. Of course, under the current circumstances, due to the lag and fragmentation of data analysis, it is impossible to tell from the data whether there are other people hiding in the house of Mr. Sun Defeng. So soon, two different sets of action contingency plans were drawn up. Action Plan Number 1, after a while, employees from the power company will enter the homes of residents in the town to check the circuits. At that time, Mo Yanshao, Tupolu, and Li Yunzhou will pretend to be employees of the power company and enter the Sun Defeng nursing home. Live for inspection and confirmation. After the three people entered, if they found that the member of the Devil's Eye was hiding in the old man Sun Defeng's home, then the three of them would immediately take action to kill the member of the Devil's Eye in the old man's home without causing a big impact. Xiaopingan, Cao Xinghua, and Qing and Fang Lingshan hid around the house to conduct the first round of control to prevent the member of the Devil's Eye from escaping. If the three of them find that the member of Devil's Eye is not in Sun Defeng's home after entering, then the three of them will withdraw and implement Action Plan Number 2. Action plan number 2 is that the Special Operations Division will monitor the elderly Sun Defeng on the spot and wait for contact between the elderly Sun Defeng and the member of the Devil's Eye. Man-eating insects are terrifying, but they have one characteristic. There must be close contact between the brain-eating insect's body and its host body every 9 days at most. Otherwise, the host body may lose control. Therefore, as long as the Special Operations Division keeps an eye on the old man Sun Defeng, it will definitely be able to follow the clues from the contacts of the old man and target the member of the Devil's Eye who is still hiding in Xianghe City, and eliminate this huge hidden danger to social order. After dark, maintenance personnel from the power company began to enter the homes of residents in the small town to repair lines. Xiaopinggan, who was wearing a headset, also left the electric maintenance vehicle and came to hide under the shade of a tree on the roadside 80 meters away from Sun Defeng's elderly home. Cao Xinghua, Anking, and others also entered the control position. Thousands of meters in the air, a drone hovered in the sky, completely locking the streets and houses in the town below. Further away, there are 2 commandos and snipers who have entered the fighting position. 2 falcons hovered further in the sky, ready to pursue. The dragnet has been laid and the operation has begun. Mo Yanshao, Tupolu, and Li Yunzhou got out of the car wearing hats and power company work clothes and carrying tool boxes. The 3 of them first started repairing the houses of 2 neighbors of the old man Sun Defeng. After a while, the 3 of them came to the yard of the old man Sun Defeng's house and rang the doorbell. After waiting for a while, the old man came out of the house and opened the door. The 3 of them explained their intention, and then entered the old man Sun Defeng's home together. The expected chaos and conflict did not happen, and all 3 people came out within 5 minutes of entering the house. Then Xiaopingyan heard the voice of Mo Yanshao in his headset, "Every team, please pay attention. The primary target is not inside. We will switch to Plan 2 and monitor the situation closely." Night fell completely, the power company's vehicles and personnel were evacuated, and the town's circuit and power supply were restored to stability. The lights of thousands of houses in the small town and the city complement each other. A small building for rent more than 100 meters away from Sun Defeng's home also welcomed new tenants at this time. The hidden surveillance equipment outside Sun Defeng's house has been installed. A simple copper lamp lit up quietly in the room. The Special Operations Division begins work. Xiaopingyan, who had just eaten a bowl of instant food and stared at the surveillance screen in the room, received a call from Xiaoning. Xiaoning said on the phone that she had found several alternative places and wanted to discuss it with Xiaopingyan. "Well, the work suddenly worked overtime, so I won't be back tonight. I walked around the city today, and I have a few options. After this busy period, let's go look at the house. We can consider renting one that's a little closer to your school, so it's convenient for you to go home," Xiaopingyan said apologetically to Xiaoning on the phone. Because Xiaopingyan's Requiem banner can completely restrain the brain-eating worm's host, Xiaopingyan's vacation this weekend ended in vain after the target was discovered. Xiaopingyan had to enter overtime status in advance and join the monitoring team. Be prepared for emergencies. Xiaopingyan hung up the phone and realized that everyone else in the room was looking at him with sympathy. "Director, give Xiaopingyan a job to make extra money. For jobs that require the Requiem flag, 1 time is enough. It's not expensive to buy a villa." Even Anqing said this to Mo Yanshao. "Is it profitable to take jobs as a summoner? Buy a villa at every turn." Xiaopingyan had some doubts in his heart. Xiaopingyan has just become a summoner. It will be a long time in the future. There are no poor summoners. Don't worry, he will not be an exception. Mo Yanshao said lightly that Xiaopingyan's poverty was not pretending, but real. Last time he only gave Xiaopingyan tens of thousands of yuan, and then he fooled Xiaopingyan into chasing the magic rat. However, last time Xiaopingyan was deceived by that bastard Yan Duo into performing a mission in the death arena, the extra reward for that mission should be pretty good. You will know after a few days when the salary is paid. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 48. From a human point of view, Old Man Sun Defeng is actually dead. Now he is just a walking corpse without consciousness, just the host body of brain-eating insects. But from a biological point of view, he is not completely dead, because his body still has vital signs and can metabolize. From the perspective of the Order Committee and the legal perspective of this era, he is indeed dead. He is one of several special cases of death parasitized by space-invading organisms. He can be treated as a living corpse of a brain-eating insect host. But no one in the town knew that Sun Defeng was dead. Every morning, Xiaopinggan watched the living corpse leave his yard and go to the town's street garden to exercise with the old people in the town. He swung his hands and legs behind the square dancing ants. Body of. It was very scary to watch a living corpse living and dancing among the crowd, but no one else around Sun Defeng noticed anything unusual about him. The seemingly peaceful city is full of strange things that can shock people's attention. All the actions of the living corpse are not autonomous, but are remotely controlled by the brain-eating insects. Because the old man Sun Defeng lived alone, the result of the Special Operations Office's analysis was that the member of the Devil's Eye who was fused with the brain-eating worm would not take the initiative to come into contact with the old man Sun Defeng at his residence. This would be too conspicuous. The most likely possibility is that the members of the Devil's Eye will control the time that old man Sun Defeng goes out and find opportunities to come into contact with old man Sun Defeng in public places. In this way, the main body of the brain-eating worm can be found based on the activity patterns of old man Sun Defeng. The interval between contact between the main body of the brain-eating worm and its host must not exceed 9 days, and each close contact should be at least 5 minutes, and there must be obvious physical contact. Sun Defeng's life is very regular. He exercises every morning, goes to the suburban park every 3 days, and goes to the supermarket in the city every 4 days. He spends most of his time in the small town. Speaking of suburban parks, according to the information previously obtained by the Special Operations Division, among the missing persons who were dismembered and sacrificed in the cold storage, one of them disappeared near the suburban park. The movement trajectories of the two overlapped. After staring at it for 2 days, Xiaopingyan discovered that the living corpse controlled by the brain-eating worm would always carry a small bottle of ether and a hand towel in a medicine bottle before going out. This was used to kidnap people when they were unprepared. Not many people would be wary of an old man who goes for an outing in a suburban park, but this old man is actually a living corpse controlled by brain-eating insects. The host is actively looking for food and sacrificial supplies, which is completely normal. This speculation is shocking, but it is close to the truth. After ruling out the suspicions of the old ladies and old men in the town who exercised and danced in the square with Sun Defeng one by one, the focus of monitoring Sun Defeng was on his going to the suburban park every 3 days and going to the suburban park every 4 days. A trip to the supermarket in the city. During the 2 outings of Mr. Sun Defeng, as long as he was alone with Mr. Sun Defeng for more than 5 minutes and had obvious physical contact, he was the focus of the investigation. Because of Xiaopinggan's remote viewing ability, the important task of monitoring Sun Defeng when he was out fell on Xiaopinggan. Xiaopinggan's monitoring of the old man Sun Defeng did not require anyone to follow him. He only needed to keep an eye on him with his remote viewing ability from a few hundred meters away. Xiaopinggan stared at the old man Sun Defeng for 4 days, watching him go to the town to exercise 4 times, play mahjong and drink tea 3 times, and go to the suburban park once. During this period, the old man Sun Defeng came into contact with some people, but those people were not the eyes of the devil. A member of. On Wednesday, 4 days had passed since the last time Mr. Sun Defeng went to the supermarket. On this afternoon, Mr. Sun Defeng got on the bus to the supermarket. Li Yunzhou drove a very ordinary SUV behind the bus. Xiaopinggan was sitting in the car driven by Li Yunzhou. He was not on the bus, but he paid attention to every move on the bus. Behind Li Yunzhou's car was a surveillance vehicle disguised as an urban freight minibus in which Tupolu and Qing and others were riding. There were not many people on the bus, people were coming and going, but fortunately no one on the bus wanted to have long-term physical contact with an old man, so monitoring on the bus was not difficult. After passing 7 or 8 stops, the bus finally entered the densely populated downtown area of Xianghe City. Old man Sun Defeng got off the car here, and Xiaopinggan also got off behind. The host has got off the bus and is walking towards the supermarket. I followed the host, more than 100 meters away. I was on the bus just now, and I didn't find any physical contact with the host. He was shuttling back and forth, reporting in a low voice, and keeping in touch with Mo Yanshao and others at all times. A small piece of bionic tape with the same color as his skin was attached to Xiaopinggan's neck near his ears. You couldn't find it without touching it with your hands. There is a small piece of communication device in the bionic adhesive tape, which can collect and transmit sound through the vibration of the skin. The communication device is connected to Xiaopinggan's mobile phone and transmits the signal to the monitoring vehicle through the mobile phone, which is very convenient. The supermarket has a very dense flow of people, and it is in a public area in the city. We have not found any close contact between the host and members of the Devil's Eye in the past few days. Today is the 4th day of monitoring the host. It is very critical. Be careful. If the time interval between contact between the host body and the living corpse is 8 days, today is the most likely day to find the target. And Qing's gentle voice came to his ears. Clear. Seeing that the old man had already got off the escalator of the supermarket in front, Xiaopinggan crossed the flow of people, ran to the entrance of the escalator on the other side, got on the escalator, and ended the call. The supermarket is in the downtown area, on the 2nd floor of the shopping mall, and there are a lot of people even in broad daylight. In such a place, if an old man comes shopping, he will not attract attention at all, and the difficulty of monitoring will be greatly increased. Xiaopinggan didn't dare to relax. Even if no one was following the old man, his remote viewing ability kept staring at the old man closely. The old man did not enter the supermarket first, but continued upstairs and walked around the shopping mall on the 3rd floor. This abnormal behavior immediately caught Xiaopinggan's attention. Xiaopinggan did not follow him into the shopping mall on the 3rd floor. Instead, he wandered around a cosmetics counter outside the mall, pretending to want to choose cosmetics for his girlfriend. Suti entered the shopping mall on the 3rd floor. Xiaopinggan immediately reported, the shopping mall on the 3rd floor has fewer people, and tracking is easy to be discovered. I was outside the shopping mall on the 3rd floor. I felt that Suti's behavior was a little abnormal, and it seemed that he was repeating check to see if you are being followed. Be careful, don't get close. The host's actions are controlled by the subject. This may be because the subject is confirming whether it is being followed. The host may return to the supermarket again. Clear. Sure enough, more than 10 minutes later, the old man did not have physical contact with anyone in the 3rd floor shopping mall. He took the escalator down from the 3rd floor shopping mall again and entered the 2nd floor supermarket. Xiaopinggan changed places on the 3rd floor and did not follow him into the supermarket. Li Yunzhou had already entered the supermarket one step ahead and was waiting to take over the surveillance. Xiaopinggan was monitoring outside using remote viewing capabilities. The supermarket is a key area, so the two of us stared at it together. The old man bought some vegetables in the supermarket. Except for some indirect physical contact with the supermarket retail clerk while buying vegetables, he did not have any unusual behavior. The supermarket retail clerk and the elderly man did not spend less than 10 minutes together. For 3 minutes, the contact conditions between the main body of the brain-eating worm and its host cannot be met. The old man left the place selling fresh vegetables with the vegetables, then paid and left the supermarket through the exit. Everything was normal. Xiaopinggan was confused. Could it be that the old man's shopping trip today was just a normal activity? But the old man's behavior on the third floor just now was obviously a little unusual. Just when the old man came out of the supermarket and Xiaopingan thought that the old man would leave, the old man turned half a circle, from the exit of the supermarket to the entrance of the side door shopping mall, stored the vegetables he bought in the locker, and then left walking towards the men's restroom on the second floor of the shopping mall. Bathroom, why didn't I think of that? Xiaopingan reacted instantly, but he was not excited. He just used his remote viewing ability to follow the old man to the men's bathroom. In the men's bathroom, there was a row of independent cubicles. Xiaopingan watched the old man enter the men's room and come to an independent cubicle. After closing the door, the old man knelt on the ground. Under the partition next to me, a hand quietly stretched out. The old man knelt on the ground, his body twisted and squirmed, and he stuck out his tongue, like a snake, and gently licked the hand stretched out next to him. People who don't know the details will only think that it is some kind of abnormal behavior, and will not think that this is the way in which the living corpse of the brain-eating insect comes into contact with the main body. This scene is really disgusting, scary and eye-catching. Xiaopingan was horrified when he saw this scene. Worried about being sensed, he immediately shifted his perspective from the old man kneeling on the ground to the long piece of glass in the bathroom, using the indirect perspective of remote viewing, observing the situation in the bathroom through the mirror in the bathroom. The indirect view of remote viewing capabilities is the least visible. About 6 or 7 minutes later, the sound of flushing came from the cubicle next to the old man. The door of the cubicle opened wide, and a well-dressed man in his 50s, wearing a gray suit and a blue shirt, looked like a successful man. He walked out of the cubicle with a brown briefcase under his arm, walked to the sink, washed his hands, and looked in the mirror. The man in the mirror has nothing special about his face, except for the slightly gloomy look in his eyes, which has a hint of Gao Shan. Finally, I've locked you in. Xiaopingan calmed down and immediately reported, the members of the Devil's Eye fused with the brain-eating worm's body locked and confirmed that he was walking out of the bathroom on the west side of the second floor of the shopping mall. He was a man, wearing a gray suit, blue shirt, with a brown briefcase under his arm, walking towards the fourth elevator of the shopping mall. We found him. Young Master Mo Yan exhaled a long breath of sound coming from the headset. We have connected to the surveillance system in the shopping mall, and we have confirmed the target you mentioned. And Qing's voice came. Minutes later, the targeted member of Evil Eye drove a car out of the shopping mall parking lot, unaware that he had been targeted. Outside, the Special Operations Division and a high-altitude drone had locked the man's vehicle, and the entire Xianghe City public security and road surveillance system had been mobilized by the Order Committee to lock the man firmly. Xiaopingan also quietly handed over the mission target. From now on, the old man's body, which has been exposed and has a low threat level, is tracked and controlled by another quick response team of the Order Committee. When Xiaopingan and the others take the initiative to attack the brain-eating insects, they will clear. Xiaopingan reunited with others from the Special Operations Division and bit the Devil's Eye member who was fused with the brain-eating insect. That member of Devil's Eye is a murderer with special abilities. Judging from the corpses in the cold storage, this is by no means the first time this person has made a sacrifice. Special Operations Execution can't let that Evil Eye member escape again. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 49. The night is dark, and the bright moon in the sky has gradually become rounder, hanging brightly in the sky. Most people in Xianghe City have fallen into a deep sleep at this time. On the highway in the western suburbs of Xianghe City, an unremarkable moving truck was parked on the roadside near a community. Like other moving vehicles, the moving truck's cabin was tight and unremarkable in appearance. On the truck's cabin was an advertising phone number for a well-known moving company in Xianghe City. Many people move according to the time of day, so moving in the middle of the night is not uncommon. Anyone who sees this car will think that it is a vehicle intended for moving a household in the community. In the compartment of the truck, all 7 people from the Special Operations Division of the Xianghe City Order Committee had gathered. There are expensive and complex electronic equipment in the truck compartment. At this moment, on a huge electronic display screen in the compartment, frontal photos of 2 middle-aged men are appearing on the left and right sides of the electronic display screen. The photo that appears on the left is Gao Qingshan, who is being wanted, and the photo that appears on the right is the target of the Devil's Eye member that Xia Pinggan discovered today. The latter, named Zhao Qinjin, is the owner and legal person of Qinjin Natural Resources Recycling Company in Xianghe City. To put it bluntly, he is the owner of a company that is licensed to collect scrap copper and scrap iron. More than 200 meters away from the car, on the side of the road, is the factory of Xianghe Qinjin Natural Resources Recycling Company. The appearance of the 2 people on the monitor was completely different, but their gloomy eyes were exactly the same. After analysis and comparison of the past data of Gao Qingshan and Zhao Qinjin by the Intelligence Information Center, the real Zhao Qinjin is probably dead. The Zhao Qinjin we see now is what Gao Qingshan transformed into after merging the brain-eating insect body. It seems that this is his backup identity in Xianghe City, so when we take action later, our target is Zhao Qinjin. Mo Yanxiao's voice sounded in the carriage. He was holding a laser pointer in his hand and making final arrangements. On the electronic display, another map appeared. This is a map of the factory area of Qinjin Natural Resources Recycling Company in Xianghe City. After investigation during the day, it was found that there are 11 workers in the factory area. Many previous missing persons cases in Xianghe City involved a large number of missing persons, a wide range, and their whereabouts were concealed. Difficult to detect, and the means of transportation have been changed many times. Such an arrangement cannot be accomplished by just the member of the Devil's Eye who is fused with the brain-eating worms and a few 3 or 5 hosts. More people must cooperate. Therefore, it is certain that the 11 workers in the factory should all be hosts of brain-eating insects. Even if they are not hosts, they are also the dog legs of the Devil's Eye. Those people have been deeply involved in previous missing persons and murder cases. Among them, these host bodies will be solved together when they take action. Young Master Mo Yan looked at Xia Pinggan, pointed at an area in the factory with a laser pointer, and told Xia Pinggan the mission: you have the Requiem flag. When you take action later, all these bodies will be handed over to you. These bodies live in this dormitory building in the factory area. After you deal with these bodies, stay in this position and block the possible escape route of the Devil's Eye member from this direction of the factory. Others' eyes also fell on Xia Pinggan, who nodded calmly. Old CAO, you and Lingshan are stuck here. This is the road from the factory area to the residential area. No matter what happens in the factory area, the task of the 2 of you is to ensure that nothing rushes from the factory area to the residential area to the residential area. Personnel causing harm. CAO Xinghua and Fang Lingshan nodded. And Qing, you stay here and command the other 2 surrounding assault teams at the same time to ensure that no fish slip through the cracks in this operation. And Qing also nodded. I, Lao Tu, and Li Yunzhou are responsible for the frontal assault, entering the small building where the members of the Devil's Eye fused with brain-eating insects are eliminated. To eliminate the target, young Master Mo Yan glanced at everyone's faces. Everyone understands what? Everyone nodded. Mo Yanxiao looked at his watch and said decisively, take 1 minute to check the equipment and then take action. Xia Pinggan also checked the equipment on his body. In fact, he didn't bring much, just his Manuan M36 rounds of pure silver bullets, a dagger, and a black cobra steel whip. Pistols, daggers, steel whips, and bullets are all mounted on a specially made tactical poncho. The tactical poncho looks like a well-tailored vest. It is also bulletproof and stab-proof, and is not cumbersome at all. That tactical poncho was specially made by Laozhou for Xiaoping'an. The waist of the tactical poncho is just big enough for a holster to store the Black Cobra's steel whip. Wear a coat and suit outside the tactical poncho. Even if you go to a dinner party, you won't see anything unusual. Is there any problem with the use of the Requiem flag? Mo Yan asks Xiaoping'an. No problem, I already know how to use it, Xiaoping'an shook his head. 1 minute soon passed. The door of the truck opened. The 7 members of the Special Operations Division quickly left the truck and blended into the night. They each entered their respective positions. After igniting the Divine Fire World bead, the summoner is no longer afraid of darkness and has the ability to see in the dark. When Xiaoping'an got out of the car, he dragged a little of the divine power from the sea of consciousness to the Zuqiao points in his eyes. His eyes instantly felt cold, and the deep night outside became clear in Xiaoping'an's eyes at this moment. Everything in the darkness is visible in the faint red light. Xiaoping'an followed Mo Yanshao, Tupolu, and Li Yunzhou like 4 black cheetahs, passing under the green belt on the roadside. In less than half a minute, they crossed a distance of more than 200 meters and arrived at Qinjin. Under the corner outside the yard of Natural Resources Recycling Company. In the yard, looking from the outside, there are some piles of scrap metal and scrapped cars. For a place like this, the wall outside the yard looks very casual, only more than 2 meters high, and the things piled in the yard are all higher than the outer courtyard wall. The 4 of them rushed to the corner and climbed over the courtyard wall easily. There were 2 dogs in the yard. The 2 dogs had just noticed something unusual. Before they could bark, Li Yunzhou took out the silent anesthesia pistol he carried with him. With 2 slight squealing sounds, the 2 dogs fell silent. Fell to the ground. Young Master Mo Yan, who was charging forward, made a gesture to Xiaoping'an, and the 4 of them separated in the yard. Xiaoping'an rushed directly to the dormitory building where the 11 employees lived, while young Master Mo Yan, Tupolu, and Li Yunzhou rushed towards another building. The 2 buildings are about 50 meters apart, on the east and west sides of the factory area. But just when Xiaoping'an and Tupolu separated, the window of the building where Zhao Qinjin lived suddenly burst open with a bang, and a black figure rushed out from the window, without even thinking about it, to fly towards the outside. Although it was night, Xiaoping'an still saw that the black figure was the Zhao Qinjin he saw during the day. Zhao Qinjin, who jumped out from the window, was only wearing a pair of shorts, her eyes were flashing red, and her face was extremely ferocious. Exposed. This thought flashed through Xiaoping'an's head instantly. The 4 of them actually dared to rush in and were discovered. Zhao Qinjin's alertness cannot be so high, so, there is something wrong with the dog. The planned raid turned into a violent attack at this moment. This member of the Devil's Eye who is fused with a brain-eating insect must not be allowed to escape. Once that person escapes, who knows how many people will suffer in the future. The anesthetic pistol in Li Yunzhou's hand was pointed at Zhao Qinjin, and within 1 second, all the anesthetic bullets in the pistol were fired towards Zhao Qinjin. The anesthetic bullets in the pistol are of course useless against Zhao Qinjin, but they can also slow down Zhao Qinjin's movements slightly. Zhao Qinjin's figure twisted strangely in the air, avoiding most of the anesthetic bullets. A few of the 2 anesthetic bullets hit him, but they only just penetrated his skin, as if they were stuck by something. The tranquilizer warhead fell from the air. Fire! Mo Yanshao shouted coldly, and a scorching flame ignited the darkness of the factory area. It flew out from his side and accurately hit Zhao Qinjin's figure. Zhao Qinjin's entire figure burned and turned into a torch flying through the air. Kill! Tupolu roared angrily, holding the broadsword in his hand, with a layer of golden light flashing on the blade. He jumped up like an eagle, and struck at the figure burning and flying in the air with 1 strike. Chiliu! A sound. Zhao Qinjin's skin and figure were burning fiercely, but the skin on his stomach and crotch had a crack, and a bloody monster figure looked like a banana squeezed out of a banana peel. The burning skin came out and fell to the ground. Tupolew cut the burning skin bag into 2 pieces with a single stroke of his knife. The 2 pieces of the burning skin bag were already burned to ashes when they landed on the ground. The monster that fell on the ground looked a bit like a human, but it was not human. It had a mouthful of sharp teeth, the spine on its back was raised like a reptile, and its hands and feet were like the tentacles of an octopus. The red light flashed again, and Li Yunzhou and Mo Yanshao summoned 2 slave soldiers with spears. The slave soldiers took the lead and rushed towards the bloody monster. On Xiaoping'an's side, when Zhao Qianjin's figure rushed out of the window of the small building, the 2 doors of the factory employee dormitory were also pushed open. 11 big men wearing only trousers and vests rushed out of the dormitory. Those men all had machetes, axes, wooden sticks, and even electric saws in their hands. The man who rushed out had blood-red eyes and fierce momentum. As soon as he saw Xiaoping'an, he rushed towards Xiaoping'an with a ferocious expression like a wild beast, wanting to chop Xiaoping'an into pieces. Then, Xiaoping'an summoned the Requiem flag for the first time. He stretched out his right hand, and there was a flag in 4 colors, red, white, yellow, and black. The flag was taller than a person, and there were some mysterious and obscure pictures and texts on it. The flag supporting the flagpole looks like a black wooden pole. As soon as the Requiem flag appeared, the movements of the 11 people who were rushing towards Xiaoping'an like wild beasts suddenly became stagnant, and their originally ferocious expressions suddenly showed a look of fear, and the mouths of the 11 people screaming like a beast. Xiaoping'an gently waved the Requiem flag in his hand, and swiped it at the 11 people who rushed over. The fontanelles of the heads of the 11 people who just rushed in front of him flew out a little black light. After being absorbed by the Requiem banner, the 11 people who rushed over fell straight to the ground at the same time, like felled wheat stalks. The faces of the 11 people changed from blood-red and ferocious fear to pale and calm, their bodies gradually stiffened, and they stopped breathing for an instant, as if they had fallen asleep and turned into corpses. Xiaoping'an didn't expect the Requiem banner to be so powerful. At this moment, the humanoid brain-eating insect monster in the distance also let out a sharp and ear-piercing roar. The howling sound was sharp and unspeakable, and extremely harsh. Although it was dozens of meters away, when Xiaoping'an heard the howling sound, he felt his head buzzing, and his whole body instantly felt nauseated, dizzy, and dizzy. A feeling of... Xiaoping'an turned his head and saw the blood-red humanoid monster with scars all over his body, one arm cut off, and a large hole pierced by a spear in his stomach. At this moment, he was screaming. He broke through the siege of the 2 slave soldiers and Tupolew and rushed towards him. "Damn it! Why are you looking for me? Is this revenge for your host body? Still want to escape from me?" Golden Summoner. Author, Xuanhuan. Chapter 50. The Requiem banner was useless against the brain-eating worm itself. Seeing the monster rushing toward him with terrifying momentum, the Requiem banner in Xiaoping'an's hand disappeared instantly, and the silver Manuan MR98 instantly appeared in Xiaoping'an's hand. Bang 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 bang. 4 shots were fired in succession. The .50 Magnum pure silver bullets flew out of the flames of the gun, instantly hitting the monster 3 times in the chest and 1 in the head. Xiaoping'an saw 4 blood flowers blooming on the monster, and 4 blood holes appeared on the monster's chest and head, but that was all. It was not fatal to the monster, but the huge energy on the bullet. Still, the monster's figure was frozen for a moment. "Be careful!" Tupolew's warning voice came from the distance. Young Master Mo Yan, Li Yunzhou, and 2 slave soldiers had already rushed over quickly. Young Master Mo Yan waved his hand, and another fireball flew out. The high-temperature fireball appeared in the blink of an eye. The monster turned its head, opened its mouth, and spat out a large ball of disgusting green mucus at the fireball. The mucus rolled into a ball and immediately enveloped the fireball, making a hissing sound. The mucus and fireball turned into black mist and dissipated at the same time. The bit of mucus that dropped on the ground instantly formed a layer of white frost on the ground. The monster escaped Mo Yanxiao's fireball, but not Li Yunzhou's fireball. Li Yunzhou's fireball flew behind Mo Yanxiao's fireball. This was a beautiful tactical coordination. Mo Yanxiao's fireball was responsible for attracting the monster's attention and consuming the monster's reaction time. Li Yunzhou's fireball was responsible for hitting the target. Trump card. The moment the first fireball dissipated, the second fireball directly hit the monster's body. The monster's entire body burned instantly, but in the midst of the burning, a gap appeared from the monster's crotch. It was a jet black thing, stained with mucus and black carapace. There was only a 4 or 5-year-old child. Something as big as an armadillo emerged from under the monster's body, dropped the burning body, and rushed towards Xiaoping again under the cover of thick black smoke. The burning body instantly turned to ashes, but the monster escaped again. Damn it! The ability of this man-eating insect is really unpredictable. Bang bang. Xiaoping continued to shoot. The powerful pure silver bullet hit the thing's shell with mucus, and actually made 2 crisp sounds as it hit the steel plate, unable to penetrate the thing's body. Moreover, that thing is very fast and its body is small, making it very difficult to deal with. Bullets seem to be completely ineffective against this thing. The silver Manuan MR98 was instantly inserted back into the holster. Xiaoping's body flew back, and at the same time, he already had the Black Cobra's steel whip in his hand. Just when the thing was close to within 2 meters of Xiaoping whipped it out with a whip. That armadillo-like monster was not the target of Xiaoping's Black Cobra steel whip. The tail end of the steel whip suddenly curled up on the railing on the 2nd floor of the dormitory building in a yard 7 or 8 meters away. Xiaoping's figure, he jumped up suddenly, like swinging on a swing, and flew over the monster's head, avoiding the monster's bloody mouth that opened towards him. The monster thought it had forced Xiaoping back, so it buried its head and rushed towards the distance, trying to break out of the encirclement. However, as soon as Xiaoping's body fell to the ground, the black cobra in his hand shook again, and the steel whip whizzed away from his hand. It came out, then came back, and the whip was circling, like a lasso, and it immediately strangled the monster's waist. The armadillo-like monster was small, thickly armored, and fast, but its strength was no match for Xiaoping. Xiaoping yanked hard, and the monster that wanted to fly away was suddenly pulled back by him. The monster let out a scream and took advantage of the situation to attack Xiaoping. It opened its mouth, and a strange snake-like head covered with scales actually stuck out from the mouth, biting towards Xiaoping's forehead like a drill. Seeing the strange snake, Xiaoping thought of the devil's eyes in the cold storage, those heads with a hole in their forehead and their brains sucked dry. Xiaoping lowered his head instinctively, and felt a fishy wind flying past his scalp, which was dangerous and dangerous. He flipped over and used strength with his hands. The body of the monster wrapped in a black cobra, like a top, was suddenly pulled by Xiaoping and thrown towards the direction where Tupolu and the others were rushing towards. Seeing Xiaoping stop the monster, the 3 people chasing after them became energetic. Tupolu roared and rushed forward in an instant. He jumped up, and the big knife in his hand created a brilliant sword light in the air. The black shell of the monster that could not be broken by bullets was directly killed by Tupolu. The sword on his body was as powerful as breaking through the bamboo. The armadillo-like monster was split in half by Tupolu with a knife and fell to the ground. The green blood spilled corroded the ground. The 2 corpses on the ground were still squirming and struggling, but they were not dead at all. The strange snake-like body spit out from the monster's mouth has been broken into 2 parts, but it is still twisting on the ground. Xiaoping walked over and looked a little creepy. The real holy coming is about to come. The weird snake-like head made a hoarse human voice, Gigi smiled strangely, echoing in the night, none of you can run away, the real holy coming soon, this plane, will eventually be ruled by the dominant demon god, all of you, will die, all will become our slaves, Jaja, the true coming of the Holy Spirit. Mo Yanshao waved his hand expressionlessly, and a ball of flame burst out from the ground. In the blink of an eye, the monster's remains were completely burned into a pile of pitch-black ashes. Finally killed this monster and stopped it? The true coming of the Holy Spirit? Dominate the devil? Xiaoping's face was expressionless, but the monster's words before it died made his heart tighten. He felt that the words that the brain-eating worm said before it died seemed to have profound meaning. A dying monster, before dying, confided there seems to be no need to pretend to be 13, and this monster may not have the psychological need to pretend to be 13. Boy, you performed well, Tupola grinned and patted Xiaoping'an on the shoulder. Mo Yan glanced at Xiaoping'an and said, "Is everything okay?" "It's okay," Xiaoping'an glanced at his black cobra. When he rolled up the monster just now, there was a sticky layer of mucus on the whip of the steel whip. It looked like he was going to give it to Lao Zhou when he went back. Disinfected. Ha ha ha, don't you look at who brought out the newcomer before. Li Yunzhou smiled beside him and began to pretend to be a big talker again. I told him before he came here that this brain-eating worm has many changes, so he be careful, it turned out to be true. This member of the Devil's Eye has been able to shed his shell twice after fused with the brain-eating insect. The ability to shed his shell for the third time is almost completed. Fortunately, we killed him. If we let him complete the third shed, I don't know how many people will be killed in the middle. No one paid attention to Li Yunzhou, letting him brag next to him. In addition to his usual pretense, this guy is also very reassuring when it comes to his work. Xiaoping'an's performance today was absolutely remarkable. He first used the Requiem banner to easily eliminate the host bodies of 11 brain-eating insects, cleared away the surrounding areas and interference in the factory, and then when the brain-eating insect body tried to escape at the same time, he successfully sniped creating the conditions for Tupolu's final kill. As newcomers who were performing such a dangerous mission for the first time, neither Mo Yanshao nor Tupola could find anything wrong with Xiaoping'an. Moreover, it was also Xiaoping'an who was found to have targeted this member of Devil's Eye before. Enqing, Cao Xinghua and Fang Lingshan finally rushed into the factory at this time. The battle just now took less than half a minute from start to finish. It was so dangerous that people outside could hardly imagine it. Seeing the people from the Special Operations Division gathered together, Mo Yanshao waved his hand, "Everyone divide into 2 teams and search carefully to see what else is here. This factory area occupies a large area and there are a lot of debris inside. Although the member of Devil's Eye has been killed, I don't know if there is anything hidden there." Soon, everyone discovered a secret passage under the dormitory building in the factory. The secret passage connected to a huge basement. In one of the basements, the stench was soaring and there were countless maggots. In an area of more than 1,000 square meters, in the large pit, there are 200 to 300 rotten and severed limbs piled up together, forming a larger sacrifice totem of the Devil's Eye. Seeing the huge Devil's Eye totem, everyone in the Special Operations Division changed their expressions. The sense of accomplishment that he had just killed the Devil's Eye member disappeared instantly. This is the third evil eye recently discovered in Xianghe City, and this evil eye has been around significantly longer than the 2 previously discovered, and more people have been sacrificed and killed. On the other side of the basement, there are more than 10 dungeons. In the dungeons are 4 abducted children with frightened faces. One of them is a little girl, wearing a red dirty dress, who has just been abducted. Came less than 2 days. After confirming that the children were fine, Xiaoping'an and others quickly took the children out of the basement with their eyes covered and immediately sent them to the hospital. Too many people died in the sacrifice of the demon eye, and the real arrival of the brain-eating insect monster said was about to come. These are very important information. The Xianghe City National Order Committee reported to the provincial department as soon as possible. But in Xiaopinggan's head, the two words that the monster said before he died kept echoing. The true coming of the Holy Spirit. Dominator of the demon god. It is understandable that the real peace of Shenlingxia should refer to a larger scale space invasion. But this is the first time Xiaopinggan has heard the word dominate the demon god.